There are moments in history when the world quietly waits for someone to refuse the limits everyone else accepts. Moments when progress doesn't whisper, it demands courage loud enough to challenge reality itself. And in those moments, one mindset separates the observers from the architects of the future: the willingness to believe that impossible is only a temporary opinion. That mindset lives in the story of Elon Musk, not as mythology, not as perfection, but as proof of what happens when vision becomes stronger than fear. Picture a young boy, restless with curiosity, devouring books faster than most people scroll headlines. While others saw entertainment, he saw blueprints for possibility. Science fiction wasn't escape, it was rehearsal for the future. He wasn't just imagining worlds, he was studying how to build them. That's where it always begins, not with resources, not with approval, but with a mind that refuses to accept the world as finished. Mindset is the invisible engine behind every breakthrough. Before rockets ever left the ground, before electric cars challenged an entire industry, before reusable spacecraft rewrote economics, there was a belief, quiet but unshakable, that humanity could do better. And belief is dangerous in the best way. Because once you truly believe something is possible, comfort becomes intolerable. Ordinary thinking starts to feel like a cage. You begin to see problems not as obstacles, but as invitations. While most people ask, why risk it? The relentless ask, why not change everything? This is where the divide begins. Most people wait for confidence before they act. They wait for certainty, for permission, for guarantees that the path will be safe. But the truth is, certainty never comes first. Action does. The people who reshape the world move forward while doubt is still loud, while critics are still watching, while the outcome is still unclear.
There's a moment every visionary faces, a crossroads between comfort and conviction. One path is predictable, safe, and socially approved. The other is uncertain, lonely, and filled with resistance. Choosing the second path requires a level of belief that feels almost irrational to everyone else. When he co-founded an online payments company that would later become PayPal, it wasn't just about building a business. It was about proving that the future belongs to those willing to rethink how systems work. But even success there wasn't the destination. For most people, financial security would have been the finish line. For a relentless mind, it was only fuel. Because true vision doesn't shrink after success, it expands. Imagine standing at a point where you could choose comfort forever, and instead deciding to risk everything on ideas that sound like science fiction. That decision reveals something powerful. When your vision is clear enough, fear loses its authority. Clarity is what transforms ambition into direction. Without it, dreams remain fantasies. With it, they become missions. He looked at humanity's biggest challenges: sustainable energy, space exploration, the future of transportation, and saw not impossibilities, but problems waiting for solutions. While others saw industries too massive to disrupt, he saw inefficiencies waiting to be challenged. While others saw risk, he saw responsibility. Vision is not about predicting the future, it's about deciding to create it. And when you truly commit to a vision, something shifts inside you. Your standards rise. Your tolerance for excuses disappears. You stop negotiating with your potential and start demanding more from yourself than anyone else ever could. But vision alone is not enough. It must be tied to purpose, a reason bigger than comfort, bigger than recognition, bigger than profit. Purpose is what gives vision its endurance. It's what keeps you moving when the excitement fades and the obstacles appear, because they always appear. Every bold dream eventually collides with reality. skepticism, financial pressure, failure, public doubt, long nights when progress feels invisible. These are not signs you're on the wrong path. They are proof you're attempting something meaningful. Purpose turns pressure into momentum. And when your purpose is strong enough, you stop asking whether the journey will be hard. You accept that difficulty is the price of doing something extraordinary. You understand that greatness is never built in comfort zones. It's forged in uncertainty, where persistence becomes the most valuable skill you possess. This is where discipline quietly enters the story, not as punishment, but as freedom. The freedom to stay committed long after motivation fades. The freedom to outwork doubt. The freedom to keep moving forward when results take longer than expected. Because relentless vision is not just about dreaming big, it's about showing up every day with the courage to act on those dreams, even when progress feels slow, even when the world doesn't understand yet. And when action begins, everything changes.
Action is where vision meets reality, where ideas stop being possibilities and start becoming commitments. It's the moment when dreaming transforms into doing, when intention turns into momentum. And this is where most people hesitate, because action exposes you to judgment, to failure, to uncertainty. But the truth is simple. Nothing extraordinary has ever been built without stepping into the unknown. When the decision was made to enter the automotive industry, it wasn't just a business move, it was a direct challenge to a century of assumptions. Electric cars were widely dismissed as slow, impractical, and undesirable. The industry had accepted those limitations as fact. But relentless thinkers don't accept the way things are as permanent. They question, they test, they rebuild from first principles. Imagine betting your reputation, your resources, and your future on the belief that the world is ready for change, even when experts say it isn't. That level of action requires courage that goes beyond optimism. It requires conviction strong enough to withstand years of doubt. And doubt came. Production delays, financial crises, public criticism. Moments when failure felt not just possible, but likely. There were nights when the weight of responsibility could have crushed anyone with less resolve. But resilience is not about avoiding pressure. It's about learning to stand inside it without breaking. Resilience is built in the moments no one applauds. It's built when progress feels invisible, when setbacks stack up, when quitting would be easier than continuing. Every obstacle becomes a test of commitment. Do you really believe in what you're building, or were you only committed when it was easy? The answer is revealed through persistence. When rockets failed to launch successfully in the early days of building a private space company, each explosion wasn't just a technical failure, it was a public spectacle. Critics declared the mission unrealistic, headlines predicted collapse. But failure is not the opposite of success, it is part of the process that leads to it. Each setback carried lessons that couldn't be learned any other way. Persistence is the quiet refusal to let temporary defeat become permanent. And eventually, after multiple failed attempts, a rocket reached orbit successfully. Not just a technical achievement, but a statement. Persistence can bend reality. That moment didn't just change one company's future, it changed what the world believed was possible for private innovation. Resilience turns vision into inevitability. But resilience alone is not enough without learning. Every setback holds information. Every mistake contains instruction. Every challenge reveals a weakness that can be strengthened. The most powerful mindset you can adopt is the willingness to learn faster than circumstances can defeat you. Learning requires humility, the ability to admit when something isn't working, and the courage to change course without losing sight of the mission. It's not about being right, it's about getting it right.
That mindset transforms failure from something to fear into something to use. Adaptability is what allows vision to survive reality. Plans evolve, strategies shift, unexpected problems appear. But when your commitment is rooted in purpose, you don't abandon the mission, you adjust the approach. Flexibility becomes strength, not compromise. This is how innovation actually happens, not as a straight line, but as a constant process of testing, refining, and improving. It's messy, unpredictable, and often uncomfortable, but that discomfort is the price of progress. Think about the impact of pushing boundaries in multiple industries at once, redefining transportation on Earth, expanding possibilities in space, accelerating sustainable energy adoption. None of it happened because conditions were perfect. It happened because action continued even when conditions were uncertain. And that's a lesson that extends far beyond any one story. You don't need rockets or factories to apply this mindset. You need the willingness to take responsibility for your vision, to move forward despite fear, to stay committed when progress is slow. Greatness is not reserved for a select few. It's available to anyone willing to adopt relentless standards. Because at its core, success is not about talent alone. It's about endurance. It's about showing up again and again, refining your approach, learning from mistakes, and refusing to let temporary setbacks define your limits. But something even deeper fuels this level of persistence: perspective. When you recognize how rare it is to have the opportunity to build, to create, to contribute, gratitude becomes a source of strength. Instead of seeing challenges as burdens, you begin to see them as privileges, proof that you're attempting something meaningful enough to matter. Gratitude keeps ambition grounded. It reminds you that the journey itself is part of the reward, that every lesson learned and every obstacle overcome is shaping you into someone capable of greater impact. And as perspective deepens, something powerful happens. Fear begins to lose its grip, replaced by determination rooted in purpose. Because when you understand why you started, quitting stops being an option. Determination rooted in purpose has a different kind of energy. Steady, unshakable, immune to trends and opinions. It doesn't rush, but it never stops. It carries you through uncertainty with a quiet confidence that grows stronger every time you refuse to give up. There comes a point in every relentless journey when the outside world finally begins to see what you believed long before they did. The electric vehicles, once dismissed as unrealistic, start redefining an industry. Rockets, once laughed at, begin landing themselves with precision once thought impossible. What was once called unrealistic slowly becomes undeniable. But the real victory isn't public recognition. It's the internal transformation that happens along the way. Because the greatest reward of relentless vision is not what you build, it's who you become while building it. You become someone who doesn't wait for permission, someone who trusts their ability to figure things out, someone who understands that limits are often just assumptions repeated long enough to feel real. And once you see through those illusions, the world looks different. Opportunities appear where obstacles used to be. Possibilities expand where fear once lived. Self-mastery is the ultimate advantage. It's the ability to control your focus when distractions are everywhere, to manage your emotions when pressure rises, to stay grounded when success arrives, and stay determined when challenges return. It's knowing that discipline is not something you do occasionally, it's a standard you live by. Think about the courage required to keep aiming higher even after achieving what most would consider enough. That's the difference between ambition and purpose. Ambition seeks achievement, purpose seeks impact, and impact never has a finish line. Relentless vision pushes you to keep asking bigger questions. How can this be improved? What problem still needs solving? What future is still waiting to be built? That curiosity keeps progress alive. It prevents complacency from quietly replacing growth. Because the moment you believe you've done enough is the moment progress slows. But when your mindset is rooted in constant improvement, every success becomes a foundation instead of a destination. You celebrate progress, then you raise the standard again, not out of dissatisfaction, but out of a deep understanding that your potential is always evolving. And that is where true freedom lives, in the knowledge that you are capable of more than you once believed. The journey of relentless vision teaches you to become comfortable with discomfort, to see uncertainty not as danger, but as possibility, to recognize that the path to extraordinary results is rarely smooth, but always worth walking.
There will always be voices telling you to be realistic, to lower your expectations, to stay within boundaries that feel safe. But history moves forward because some people refuse to accept those boundaries as permanent. They choose courage over comfort, growth over approval, purpose over ease. And that choice is available to you right now. You don't need perfect timing, you don't need universal support, you don't need to have every step figured out. You only need the willingness to start and the commitment to keep going long enough to see what you're capable of. Because the truth is, the world doesn't change because of ideas alone. It changes because of people who act on those ideas with relentless consistency. People who are willing to endure uncertainty long enough to turn possibility into reality. Imagine looking back years from now and realizing you chose the harder path, the one filled with growth, learning, and purpose, instead of settling for what was comfortable. Imagine knowing you pushed beyond your doubts, expanded your limits, and built something meaningful with your time and energy. That is the legacy of relentless vision. It's not reserved for entrepreneurs or innovators. It belongs to anyone willing to take responsibility for their potential. Anyone willing to replace excuses with action. Anyone willing to believe that their efforts can create change, not someday, but starting now. So stand at the edge of your own possibilities and make a decision. Decide that fear will not dictate your direction. Decide that setbacks will not define your limits. Decide that your vision deserves your full commitment, your full effort, your full belief. Because the future is not something that happens to you, it's something you build. And every great transformation begins with the moment you choose to rise above average thinking and commit to extraordinary action. To push further than comfort allows, to stay focused when distractions call, to believe in what you're building long before anyone else understands it. This is your reminder that impossible is not a wall. It's a challenge waiting for courage. So take the step, do the work, stay relentless. And if this message ignited something inside you, a spark of ambition, a sense of clarity, a reminder of your potential, then don't let it fade here. Subscribe to this channel for more powerful motivation, more mindset shifts, and more reminders that you are capable of building a life far beyond what you once thought possible.